Look at this city. Look carefully. There is no bedrock, no solid ground, no foundation in the way every other city on Earth was built. What you're seeing is a metropolis of over 100,000 people, built on top of a lagoon, and it has been standing for 15 centuries. Under these streets, under these canals, there are no streets at all. There is only mud, water, and something that should never have worked. This is not a story about a beautiful city. This is a story about what desperate human beings are capable of when survival is the only option. The year is 452 AD. Attila the Hun has just burned Aquileia, one of the largest cities in the Roman world, to the ground. The survivors ran east toward the one place no army on horseback could follow, the lagoon. This was not a place anyone would have chosen to live. The ground shook when you walked, the air smelled of salt and decay. There was nothing to eat except fish, waterfowl, and salt. Yes, salt, which they harvested from the shallows and traded as currency. In fact, the word salary, the word we still use today for the money we earn, comes from the Latin salarium, the salt wages paid to Roman soldiers. These refugees didn't just survive on salt, they built an entire economy with it. For decades, these islands were just that, scattered camps of displaced people clinging to whatever stability they could find. But then, someone had to figure out how to actually build on this. Before they could build anything, they had to understand what was below them. The lagoon floor was mostly soft mud, useless for foundations. But deep beneath that mud, the engineers discovered something extraordinary: the Coranto, a dense, compressed layer of clay and hardened sand, essentially prehistoric bedrock, sitting 10, 15, sometimes 20 feet below the surface. The question was, how do you reach it without losing everything above? The answer was a forest, an invisible underwater forest. Workers called batipali, literally pile drivers, spent years hammering millions of wooden stakes through the mud until each one touched the Coranto below. The stakes were packed so tightly together, side by side, that they formed a single compressed mass. Not individual columns, but a dense wooden grid, almost like a raft embedded in the earth. The wood of choice, alder, a tree that does something almost impossible. When kept permanently submerged and deprived of oxygen, it doesn't rot. Instead, over centuries, the minerals in the water slowly replace the organic material in the wood. The stakes petrify, they turn to stone. Santa Maria della Salute, one of Venice's most iconic churches, rests on over 1 million of these piles. The Rialto Bridge, 12,000, the entire city, an estimated 10 million stakes, 10 million. Trees, transported by raft from forests in Slovenia, Croatia, and the Alps. Loaded onto boats, floated through rivers, offloaded into the lagoon, and then driven, one by hand into the mud. On top of that pile grid, they laid horizontal wooden platforms, called zadaroni, which translates literally as great rafts. And on top of those platforms, the city could finally begin. But they weren't finished solving problems. The water was salt water. Salt destroys brick, it corrodes iron, it eats mortar. So the Venetians sourced a specific stone from the Istrian Peninsula, a dense, low porosity limestone, almost impervious to salt corrosion. This white stone became the armor of Venice, used for the base of every building, every doorframe, every corner that touched the waterline. And the buildings themselves, deliberately light. First built in timber, then, as the city matured, in smaller, thinner bricks than anywhere else in Europe, easier to transport by boat, lighter per square foot, and crucially, less pressure on those wooden foundations below. This is why Venetian Gothic architecture looks the way it does. Those impossibly slender columns, those lace-like stone windows, that appearance of floating. It wasn't just aesthetics, it was structural necessity. The city had to look delicate, because it was delicate, and its builders knew it. The same people who built a city out of desperation discovered something extraordinary about their location. Venice sat at the precise crossroads between East and West, the Byzantine Empire to the east, the feudal kingdoms of Europe to the west. And Venice, well, Venice answered to neither. It was one of the earliest genuine republics in the medieval world, governed by an elected leader called the Doge, from the Latin dux, Commander. For over 1,000 years, no single king or emperor ruled Venice. The city governed itself. That political independence, combined with the most sophisticated navy in the Mediterranean, made Venice rich beyond comprehension. The arsenal. This word, which now means any weapons warehouse in any language, was born here. It comes from the Arabic Dar al-Sina'a, house of craft. And this was the most advanced manufacturing facility the medieval world had ever seen. At its peak, the arsenal employed 16,000 workers. It could assemble a fully armed war galley, from keel to cannon, in a single day. This wasn't just impressive by medieval standards. It wouldn't be matched until the Industrial Revolution, 3 centuries later. In 1204, Venice did something that shocked the medieval world. A crusade, officially launched to recapture Jerusalem, was redirected to Constantinople, to the capital of the Christian Byzantine Empire. The Doge of Venice, Enrico Dandolo, blind, nearly 100 years old, personally led the naval assault. The city fell. It was sacked. And Venice walked away with a quarter of the entire Byzantine Empire. Islands, trade ports, sea routes, and enough looted treasure to fund generations of construction back home. The famous bronze horses above St. Mark's Basilica, stolen from Constantinople's Hippodrome that year. They're still there. At its height, the Venetian Republic controlled more coastline and sea routes than any power in Europe, not through armies marching across land, through ships, contracts, and an almost incomprehensible mastery of trade. Silk, pepper, nutmeg, cloves, glass, cotton, knowledge. Everything the medieval world wanted passed through Venice. The Black Death arrived in Europe through trade ports, and Venice, as the most connected port in the world, was among the first to face it. The city's response was, once again, an act of genius under pressure. In 1377, Venice became the first government in history to mandate that arriving ships and their crews wait in isolation before entering the city. 30 days at first, a Trentino, later extended to 40, a Quarantino, from quaranta, 40 in Italian. That word, quarantine, is still used in every hospital, every airport, every public health protocol in the world today. It was born here, in Venice, as a desperate attempt to stop a plague that had already killed a third of Europe. On July 8, 1497, a Portuguese captain named Vasco da Gama sailed south from Lisbon, around the tip of Africa, across the Indian Ocean, directly to the spice ports of India. When he returned, the price of pepper in Lisbon was a fraction of what it cost in Venice. The entire economic logic that had made Venice the center of the world, its position between East and West, was made obsolete in a single voyage. The ocean had replaced the lagoon. The Ottoman Empire took Cyprus in 1571. Crete fell in 1669. And on May 12, 1797, Napoleon Bonaparte sent Venice an ultimatum. The last Doge, Ludovico Manin, dissolved the Great Council. A republic that had survived over 1,000 years ended in an afternoon. Manin reportedly removed his ceremonial cap and handed it to his servant, saying, "I won't be needing this anymore." The wooden stakes are still there. Many have now petrified completely, harder than the concrete poured in modern cities. But the water is rising. In the last century, Venice has sunk roughly 25 centimeters relative to the sea, a combination of natural compression of the lagoon floor and rising sea levels driven by climate change. The acqua alta, the high tides that flood the city, are becoming more frequent and more severe. St. Mark's Basilica has flooded more in the last 20 years than in the previous 1,000. Italy's answer is a project called MOSE, the largest hydraulic engineering project ever built in the country. 78 mobile floodgates installed on the floor of the 3 lagoon inlets. When a dangerous tide is forecast, they rise. They seal the lagoon, and Venice, for now, stays dry. It is, in a way, a continuation of the same story that started 1,500 years ago. Human beings staring at an impossible problem and deciding to engineer their way through it anyway. A Roman Empire collapsed. Refugees with nothing built a republic that lasted 1,000 years. They invented international banking, standardized maritime law, pioneered mass production, and gave us the words arsenal, quarantine, and salary. They built a forest no one can see, under a city that shouldn't exist, that is still standing today. Venice is not just a beautiful place, it is proof of what becomes possible when there is no other option. If this story changed how you see the world, hit the like button. Every city we cover hides a story like this one. Subscribe, and we'll keep finding them.